So I'm in the car, so I'm sure you're gonna hear some shitty, some rattling. That seems to be the case when I do these, but and I apologize. So it's September 28th. 2019. I'm on my way to work, and it's beautiful outside. Nice fall day. I don't know why I turned this on. I don't have much to say today, but I feel like shit today, so I don't. I need to talk, I think. I've been trying to figure out what's missing in my life, and beyond the obvious, beyond the major foundational life necessities that are missing in my life, as far as like financially goes, and just everything. Like, my foundation is so broken. So, but I've been trying to figure out why I don't. I guess I'm not trying to figure it out. I'm trying to relay the message to other people, and I don't even know if it's okay to feel this way. I don't know if it means, because if you say that the world doesn't understand what you're going through, and that's why you're going through it, and there's no way out, it sounds very people have a hard time with that. Everyone wants to believe in the human spirit, and everyone has heard a story about someone who's been through worse and got through it, but that doesn't change. It doesn't change. It doesn't mean that it's any easier for the person who's dealing with it, And the way I feel right now is I just don't have any more fight left. Like, in order to get my, recover from all of this, I have to fight. In order to get a better life, I have to fight. And I've just been fighting for too long. I've been fighting so hard for too long. I don't have any fight left in me. At this age, you should have fought your battles and at least made a space for yourself so that you can take care of yourself, and at least have found some areas of your life that you're satisfied with. And I don't have that. And the big mistake I made, although I wouldn't change it, was I derived all my happiness from Rachel. She was the source of all my joy. She was the source of all my hope. She was my future. She was my source of confidence, and she kind of was the narrator of my story almost. And that's a mistake, I think, when you're in love. I don't think that you should put that on anyone's shoulders, your own happiness and your own salvation, really. And what happened was, I could go over it and over it again, but depression has been a tough one for me. When I was a teenager, and there was a couple of years where, my body, I hadn't grown into my body yet, and I was still kind of a little chubby, and I was a late bloomer, and the 8th grade was into the high school. So I remember 8th grade being really tough. Like, you're an 8th grader in the high school, you're the bottom of the barrel, and it's just a rough time. I think I was, 8th grader, I was 13. So 13's hard, and And I remember just feeling sad and feeling self-conscious and looking for my place. I had always been into sports, but I wasn't very good at sports. School didn't really interest me. I didn't feel challenged. I was just bored. I remember coming home, like, I can remember, I know this I have this feeling. And I can trace it all the way back to coming home from school in 8th grade and not having anything to do and putting the TV on and being home. And I remember feeling really sad and really just lost without any real direction. And so I found weed. Like, that was my thing. I found weed, and it was a way for me I really got into it. I wanted to be high all the time. I wanted to smoke all the time. It took me out of that frame of mind, and I really loved it. And that's what I latched onto in high school. So much that I didn't think about my future. I didn't apply myself in anything. Briefly I played football, and I enjoyed that. And I got into it a little bit, but and then I switched schools, and I went to Williston for a year. Now, that was a bad mistake. The football program at South Hadley, it was basically about the coaches that were the reason why I enjoyed it so much. It had to do with the coaching staff and the relationships I developed on the team. And so I should have stuck it out and stayed with that. And I remember going to Williston, and I remember I didn't really work out much that summer. I don't know. When high school was over and I got that drawing scholarship at University of Hartford, it was like a lifesaver. I thought, this is it. Thank God I made it out. I made it out of this mess, and I felt very lucky. But when I got there, I just wasn't ready. I was still in that place, and I was just looking for acceptance and my way to find friends. And at that point, I had started to develop. The weed was making me socially anxious, and that was feeding into my own insecurities and everything. So, I did the same thing when I was at University of Hartford, and I didn't go to all my classes. It was just a mess. So when my folks pulled me out and brought me home, I was miserable, just miserable. And I continued to smoke weed and do nothing and go nowhere. And I didn't want to be at school, nothing. I just wasn't. I had failed. In my mind, I thought I had failed. So I don't know what I wanted. And I floated around and just did nothing. And no one really pressured me to do anything. My folks were disappointed in me, and I was disappointed in myself. And I don't know. I don't remember them ever getting on my case at that point to, get my shit together. I'm not saying it's their fault. Obviously not. My sister was raised with the same parents, and she did just fine, so. But I just felt like, I don't know. I felt very lost, and I never found my way. And that's when I ended up getting into drugs, hard drugs. I never messed with pills, but I went right for the big thing, heroin, and that it consumed my life in a big way. Until my parents were just defeated. They didn't know how to deal with that. They didn't understand it, and they were just defeated. And they basically shut off support for me, and that's when I decided to change my life. I was cooking at McCarthy's, and I found a girlfriend, and I started to get my shit together. lost a lot of weight, went back to school and started doing well in school, and that's when I met Rachel. And when I met Rachel, I fell in love with her. I was in love with her for a year, and when we started dating, I felt like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. But I still didn't have a career path. I still didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was being told that that's okay. You just have to go through college and get through college, and it was dumb. It was not the wise path to follow. And when I got to UMass and Rachel had graduated, I felt like I was wasting money, and I wasn't passionate about it anymore. And I was good at my job, so I really sunk my teeth into that, and I said, I'm going to take a semester off, which I should never have done. And everything felt like it was just going really well. I had been sober for a while now, and I haven't looked back. I haven't relapsed or anything, but I just never found my way. And I was cooking in restaurants, and when you're young, that's fine. You feel kind of it's an exciting place to be, but as you get older, it just sucks. I hate it now. And Rachel and I got to a point where we got engaged, and that was good. And we got to a point where we weren't sure what the hell we were going to do. She had a bunch of debt, I had a bunch of debt. We were just kind of floating along, and then she got sick. And this is just a super brief summary. She got sick, and what I meant to say was getting off of drugs. And when I remember knocking on my door and my dad saying, like, I'm sorry, you can't come in. We love you, but we sure don't like you. We don't want anything to do with you until you figure this out. And I remember they moved to Florida. And I didn't get better until then, until I had nobody. And I got scared, and I realized I can't do this anymore. And that's when I started to get better. So, but it was a fucking fight. It was a hell of a fight. And I did have one terrible relapse where I ended up getting sectioned. My sister and my parents sectioned me, Section 35 or something. Yeah, Section 35. I went away for 30 days. I was on house arrest before that. I mean, goodness gracious. I went away for 30 days, and when I came back, and then I was dating, long story short, and started dating Rachel, and but it was a brutal fight for me to get off of all of the stuff I was on, the opiates, and then it was methadone and Suboxone, and it was just a long, brutal fight. And I felt like I was clawing my way back, and then I ended up graduating from HCC. Once I got out of it and I started to really get my shit together and get in physical shape and all that stuff, I graduated from HCC Alpha Xi Omega, which is like that's the high honors for community college. So I was feeling really good about myself. I got into UMass and transferred and was going there. And it was a hell of a battle. So after that, I don't know. It sounds terrible when I think about it now, but battling my way back, I just felt like things will work out. I didn't. During the time where most kids decide what they're going to do with their life, and they start taking steps to ensure that they have a future, I was just trying to get off of heroin. So I missed out on that time of my life, my priorities and everything. And by the time I got clean, I was 26. Going on 27, and back then I felt like it's